Is there a system, is there a mechanism by which these employees bring these ideas?
That's a great question. No, there's a method behind the madness.
The topic is operational transformation, the Google way, and my guest today is Daniel Kaulfus. He is Global Head of Logistics and Operations with Google. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
Perhaps you could explain to me what we're talking about when we say the Google way.
So, Bob, the Google way really starts with the culture of Google. It is kind of the foundation from really day one. Whenever people join Google, they go through Noogler training, which is a new Googler training. And from that point on, it really establishes a very safe environment, a progressive environment, a multicultural environment.
But thousands and thousands of people spread all over the world work for Google. How do you standardize that approach and make sure that that corporate culture is spread around all offices and all individuals in the company?
Yeah, you know, it's a difficult challenge. I mean, and I think Google has risen to the challenge. They have standardized approaches, standardized procedures across all of those different global locations, be it in Sunnyvale or Mountain View or Dublin or Singapore. They're able to kind of standardize that whole teaching approach, and then they also do it by peer-to-peer engagements, right? So the culture really propagates once you've kind of got that seed and it starts to germinate. It's a very, very positive effect globally.
Well, many companies talk about the importance of innovation, listening to their employees and the like, but actually making that happen is another story altogether. How do you encourage innovation? How do you get those ideas to bubble up from the employee workforce all the way up to the top of the company?
That's a very good question. I would say it really all starts with empowerment, right? Knowing that the employees themselves feel a safe environment to work in, right? And then they're empowered and they won't necessarily be judged on success or failure. The real intent of Google is that employees bring ideas forward, right? They try them and they fail fast, right? What we found is that with the fail fast approach, right, we learn from those mistakes, we can improve on those programs that they're working on, and then we regenerate to grow programs beyond what the original concept would have been.
Is there a system, is there a mechanism by which these employees bring these ideas out, or is it just more of a haphazard thing, somebody walking into someone's office and saying, I've got a great idea?
Right. That's a great question. No, there's a method behind the madness as well. So like a lot of companies, we'll start with our mission and our vision, and we generally really encourage the concept of think big, right? Think big, think moonshot. So around Google, the term we generally term is moonshot, and that's thinking 10x, that's thinking 20x. What is dramatically different? What technologies have we not thought about? What protocol with practices have we not thought about? So the idea though is if we're thinking 10, 20x big, if we get a 2x improvement, that's dramatically different than where we're at before.
There is the issue of scaling. You have this one person with one idea, and suddenly everybody goes, okay, that's a pretty good idea. Let's go with that. Let's build a team around that. Mm-hmm. How do you scale up? How do you bring in people? I'm just wondering how you get everyone to kind of come together around an innovative idea and proceed with it.
It really depends upon the idea, right? And it's all about, again, a safe culture, a safe operating environment to operate in. And then we really let the whole process naturally evolve at that point. With that great idea, generally, and we are a numbers-driven company as well, we're a very quantitative company. We originated as a software company, so a lot of engineering talent internally, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about what those individuals are bringing, they're bringing a pretty structured, logical approach to begin with. So as those ideas are germinating and growing, we're going to put numbers around those, and we're going to start to quantify those. And then from the fail fast approach, we're going to give employees the bandwidth to run, right? And as they're running, they're going to start to justify why this idea is good, why it's cost justified, right? Why the scalability is there. And very quickly, we go through a pretty structured review process where then we'll review those ideas, and those that aren't germinating, those that aren't flowering, right, we'll set those to the side, try to learn from those. And then those that are, we'll concentrate our resources. And then from there, then they'll get the extra impetus to truly go the 2x, the 5x, the 10x big.
I've heard you say a couple of times the phrase fail fast. I'm just wondering how fast, how How long do you commit resources to an idea before it becomes apparent that that idea is a no-go? Or, you know, it's always that question of the investment principle. How much do you put into something? How long do you stick with it?
It is, and there is no solid science to that. It really is. There's an art in that. What we try to do is we use a gate approach, right, with any of our new programs, with any of our new projects. So they'll go through a review process, very similar to some traditional companies. But I think the difference within Google is we're open to all of different ideas, and we're much more open whenever we're evaluating those in terms of possibilities and in terms of where that trajectory is going to land.
I still wonder, though, how a company the size of Google and actually the maturity of Google, and not just Google, but any company of that size, maintains the mentality and the culture of a startup. Startups they throw ideas all over the place. They're just crazy and creative. Right. You guys have your levels of management. You have bureaucracy built into an organization your size. Do you try to keep that mentality, or is there some way you can get over the natural tendency of people to be bureaucratic in a large organization?
Yeah, and there's a balance in that whole process. What we really try to do is we start with teams, and we try to keep the teams small. We feel that with kind of that small team approach, that then it truly keeps that kind of startup sort of mentality. I think the other kind of key ingredient, and I've worked for 6, 7 different industries out there as well, the key ingredient within Google is we keep it fun. And we really build that fun into our culture, right? So you see that with the Google bikes that you would bike around campus. You see it with the different colors, right? Mm-hmm. Those are just kind of surface indicators, but behind that, there's really a method behind that. We want to keep it light, right? We want to keep those ideas flowing. And with that kind of flow of ideas and that small team approach, what we found is that ideas almost come naturally, right? Mm-hmm. I mentioned it in the very beginning, though, it's that safe environment as well. I think a lot of companies tend to look for the 100% solution. We're not looking for that 100% solution out of the gate. We're more a company that's going to say, you know what, bring forward an 80% solution. Once we have that 80% in place, then we'll iterate on that and we'll get it another 80% better. And at that point, we're about 96% good. And then we'll iterate on it again and bring it up to about another 80% better. And at that point, we're at about 99%. And at 99%, we're good to go. Right.
Yeah. Well, the cliche of Silicon Valley and tech companies in general is that they have all those employee amenities. They have the bikes, they have the foosball, they have the free food and everything. Right. But we all know that what really keeps an employee in an organization is the feeling that they are appreciated. Right. Compensated, of course, but appreciated and given the opportunity to move up in the organization, to move out, to do different things. Is it important to you that people not stay in the same position year after year, that they move up or out or sideways or whatever in order to keep engaged?
Yeah, it very is. It's a key ingredient within Google, right? There is a lot of flexibility to the sides, to the back, to the front, whichever way you really want to take your career. A key magic ingredient, I think, as well, is that managers pride themselves on what I would say is exporting talent, right? So importing talent would be going through that recruiting process, going through that hiring process. The exporting talent is, are you developing people so that they can grow beyond just the physical constraints of your team? Very key indicator in terms of managers and the way they progress through the company. I think the other kind of key different ingredient within Google is we go through a twice yearly review process of all the managers, right? A lot of companies do that. I think the real key difference within Google is we make those results public. So what it does within a management framework is it really turns that pyramid upside down, and managers truly become servant leaders. If you're going through a review with your employees, and one of those key questions is, do you have confidence in your leader, right? Is my leader helping me progress my career? It's one thing to do that survey and keep it cloaked and keep it internal. Another thing is to make those results public. And what that really drives is that competitive spirit between the management teams of wanting to develop their employees, right? Wanting to export that talent, wanting to be a good, strong servant leader. Because that is the way that careers grow within Google. And then the benefit that we see as a company is those charged up employees that come forward with ideas that know that the manager is going to have their back.
Well, very interesting to hear about the so-called Google way. It sounds like almost a spiritual path as well as a business and career path. Thanks so much, Daniel, for talking to us about it today.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
I've been speaking with Daniel Kaulfus of Google. Thank you very much for watching.